Today, we talk about the challenges of maintaining technicians in the field on a job that they may very well think is temporary. We talk about the challenges of doing paper reports and having them typed after the fact. I'm your host, Brian Wagner, a licensed professional engineer, and in this episode of the Engineering Quality Control Podcast, I'll be talking with Thierno Barry, professional engineer and field services supervisor at Englobe Corp, a leader in fields of engineering, geosciences, environmental management, soils and materials, treatment, asset integrity, and quality management. So let's jump right in. So now I would like to welcome our guest for today, Thierno Barry from Englobe Corp. Thierno, welcome to the Engineering Quality Control Podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express myself and share my experience.
Yep. So just to get started, can you just tell our audience and me, because I want to know more, about yourself and what you do on a daily basis?
Well, my name is Thierno Barry, originally from Guinea in West Africa. Moved to the United States in 1997 for my higher education. I lived there for about 13 years. I did all my civil engineering, and then I have a master's degree in business management. And then I work for a company called ECS, Engineering Consulting Services. They do, all inspection and testing. And then things got a little bit tough in terms of, getting my H-1B visa. And then, as being international student, I was about to become, out of status. And then I had an opportunity to apply a resident permanent in Canada, which went very successful. And then I decided to move to Canada. And then I moved to Canada in 2011. So when I moved to Canada, it was a big challenge, trying to get into the field. But, because in the US, I did more about technician testing. I wanted to, change. Okay, I said, okay, I'm in a country where, I have my paper. So now I'm gonna, doing engineering right away, but wasn't the case. So 1 year I started working, I have a survival job, work for Bell Canada for, telecommunication. And after 1 year, I decided to go back again, to start at the bottom as a technician in company used to be called LVM, now it's become Englobe. So from there, I move up to where I am right now. So on the daily basis, right now I'm working for this company is more than 10 years now as a field supervisor, at the same time as a project manager. I deal with technicians on the daily regular basis in terms of quality control, quality assurance, inspection, and review report and send report, and at the same time review tender documents and prepare proposals. That's what I do on the regular basis.
Okay, so you're reviewing the work that your people in the field or technicians are doing and bringing back to the office, right?
Sure, yes.
So from that perspective, from a leadership role in that role, what things do you think are crucial about the testing processes and the documentation that kind of goes with that?
Well, actually, it's what I find strange, we're still operating in the old-fashioned way, like paper. So we technicians still have to hand in paper to the, when they go to site, to the, whatever test they do, they have to give a copy to the, to the inspectors or the client. So on the regular basis, I deal with, paperwork a lot, review report, and then we still have to type them, right? Which is also another, challenge because of the technology. I know when I was in the US, when I did technician, it was more different. Each one has, at that time was a tablet, PDA. So there was less paper and you just input your data and then you upload at the end of the day. Where I'm facing with, all these reports, on the daily basis is it sometimes it's hard to read. Some people handwriting. So that's a challenge.
So are the technicians putting in their or typing up their own reports, or is that going to somebody else to type and put into the
Yeah,
computer?
that goes to somebody else to type.
Okay.
So
Have you
what I
ever seen any
do,
quality issues there, like that they
yes,
can't read the
qualities.
handwriting, or
Yes, that's one of the reasons. Sometimes, it's we keep going back and forth and calling even the technician to clarify because it's not clear. Because some people have different way of handwriting, right? So they might think the way they wrote is correct, but when somebody, try to understand is a different way, a different thing. So that's yeah, somebody has to type all this report before we send it to our client.
so one of the notes I have here that we can talk about is in that testing processes and in um, other critical areas of construction. But what advice do you have, or what uh, opinions do you have on making sure that those materials are tested and meet the standards and specifications, and that the documentation that you're doing and the quality that you're ensuring happens on your documentation end of things is related to the field and those testing procedures and those processes so that work can continue?
So basically, what we do, we try we train technicians so that they can follow proper procedure and know the specs, so that when they go on site, they will be able to follow the testing because all the tests have procedure to follow. So, and then there are some specification for each type of material. So we have to make sure they know those specs. And if they don't know, we ask them to contact someone more experienced for help. So basically, it's really helping in a way that before you before we send you to the site, there are some basic training you need to pass, like concrete, for instance. You need to get certified. You have to pass the test, written and writing. I mean, practical and written tests. And here is a little bit different compared what I did in the US. Still, US, even to test soil, you have to be certified. You have to do, because I did some, foundation inspection there too. You have to be certified for foundation testing. But in my company, it's a little bit different. Probably, I don't know if it's the size of the, work we have or what we're dealing with. So basically, only the concrete testing is required, and then the other one we do it in house for the asphalt and the, you know, granular compaction for certification.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question is, are those trainings
Okay.
in-house, or are uh, they like off-site trainings that a local authority wants to have to produce a card or a qualification?
Yes, especially for the concrete is there's a training for concrete. Either you do they call it CCI, is the Canadian standard, is the Association of Laboratory in Toronto, in Ontario. And there's also some people take the ACI for concrete, American, Concrete Institute. And then for the other one, for people who are really doing with the asphalt, there's another certification, but those are the people who work really in the lab. But if you are working in the field, we just have to train you in-house and give you, there's a device we use to check the compaction called nuclear gauge. Probably you heard about it. It has some kind of radiation. So that one, we give them a training. They have to pass so that they know how to operate the machine and where all the safety, related to that particular device so that they are aware. So those kind of training we do in-house. All the other one, we just, those are mandatory certification they get, but all the other testing, like asphalt and granular, they just learn on, on the job. And
So you have my wheels turning as a manager and managing staff. I'm sure that you have new staff coming in from time to time. What are you seeing as far as maybe not saying somebody like off the street that's never done this work, but if like your company does in-house training and they're coming from another company, do you ever see conflicts with the way somebody else does it versus the way you want them to do it? And does that ever cause issues when those technicians go to the field?
yes, actually, because we had some different technician coming from a different company. For instance, there's a way they, especially testing is the same, but only like writing the result. For instance, I give an example. For compaction test, we have our own form, like, each company have their own form, but in our form, for instance, you have to calculate all, like the wet density. I mean, you get those data from the machine, but some company I've seen that, they only write either the percentage of the compaction or the dry density. They said, okay, if you know the moisture and it just obvious because all they're looking for is the dry density. They don't write the wet density. So that creates another issue because we have to go do back calculation because, we have to, the way our report are presented, so we have to, follow that, right? But the other guy from another company and, you using different way that can create sometime, some kind of correction.
Which then leads to deficiencies in quality if somebody questions something or another technician goes on the same site and then you start looking at, I mean, I know I've looked at reports from different inspectors over the years and it'll be the same like format structure and you go through the whole thing and then you'll get to a day where he was off. And then you get this other report that's either super elaborate that explains
Yes.
all this other stuff that would have been really nice to know if the other person did this, or the other extreme where there's nothing, like they were just on site. Like,
Yeah, actually, what I've seen also based on experience, some of our technicians who are really experienced, they want to be more detailed, instead of just putting the numbers, they also add some notes. If there were any deficiency, they noted during the testing. But some other guy, they knew all they give you is the numbers. They don't, they don't go to detail, but all, based on the experience. But, what are we trying to do to improve the quality? We try to, we create some form, we give them, so not only numbers, you can also take a pictures, you know, so that sometimes picture talks louder than, the word, right?
right.
So
And there's so many times that pictures have saved my butt in the aftermath of a project. What did it look like before it was backfilled? And answering those questions with a picture is so much easier than even just notes.
sure, I agree because the other day, one of my technician actually, he was arguing if the result failed because luckily he took a picture, but when he showed the picture, you can see the material were not even compacted. So, and then the contractor, because what happened, contractor has their own QC. So we are in that project acting as a QA, working for the city. So when the result failed, they say, okay, oh, our QC guy, got this. Well, because of the technician had a picture of they were, backfilling, you could see easily that the material were not well compacted. So that also saves us.
So yeah, I mean, and the technology that we're all carrying around in our pockets now is so powerful to have a picture. I mean, I remember when I first got into engineering, we still had Polaroid cameras. So, and everybody didn't get the camera when they went to the field.
Good, okay. Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that asphalt testing and the challenges that you may encounter with that?
Well, asphalt is you know, asphalt require, an experienced person because it's not only like, sometimes you go on site because I give an example. Sometimes even in the nuclear gauge machine that we use, I seen that, compaction's getting some, like the new guy, they're getting like 98%, which is, you cannot get a 98% of compaction because, uh, the way that the asphalt, compaction, it goes with the air void, right? So let's say if you say you have 98% of compaction, that's mean you have only 2% of air void, which is out of the limit. So that's why if you have an experienced person, instead of trying the machine, because as a technician, sometimes, you try on one location, you get higher number, you still have to check around, if you can, if all the value are the same. But if somebody doesn't have experience, he can just, do one-time test and then record that value. You might think, this is because in the eye of some people, 98 is unacceptable because it's too, that's mean too much compaction. While if you change the gauge in another location or move like 1 meter off, like offset to try again, you can get a different, result, which is, probably the right, because sometimes it also depends. Sometimes if it's too hot, I seen based on my experience, the result are, but all that you have to be a very experienced person so that you know when to test. That's another challenge because some people, you have to wait until they finish all, some of the rolling, and also no waiting until to the end, until the asphalt start getting harder, right? Otherwise, it's gonna break. If you tell them to compact more in case you did not get the result, if let's say you're getting a lower compaction, and you want the guy to compact more, if his asphalt start already getting harder, so it's gonna be breaking. So it's is a it's a, always goes with experience based on what I've seen on the field and the result also as I've seen.
And are you, as a manager, are you selecting the technicians that go to the field and which projects they go to?
Yeah, actually we do because based on how critical is the project, we do send the more experienced technician. If it's a complicated project, we send if like a newly hired, we know we send them only to do only concrete. Or if it's let's say you have to deal with subgrade inspection, you need someone more experienced. So it's all based on the experience when we schedule technician on site. And sometime with the experienced technician, it's still a challenge because they might find different things on site, right? But they always have experience will help them to figure out, or we always advise to make decision that you are not sure, contact a senior guy uh, for right answers.
Right, and it comes back to team collaboration and all watching out for each other.
Yes.
Um, so you inspect concrete, asphalt, subgrade. Do you do rebar inspections and things like that?
Yeah, I do. I do rebar inspection.
And can you talk about some of the challenges with that? Because especially, or is there a certification that goes along with those inspections, or is that in-house too? Because I feel like some of that
Ah,
can be very
yes.
critical with lapping or sizes
Size.
and all those different aspects that even as a new person with experience with some experience, like getting that experience can be a challenge.
Yeah, sure, sure. Based on what my experience, uh, like for me, for myself, when I started doing inspection, I did it in the US. I had to, there was a course the company offered called structural, steel inspection. So that's when they teach you all the different size of the bar, and for the lap and the cover. So I had the opportunity to, to read, to attend that training. But here in my company, we don't really, most of the inspection, what we do, we send it to the people who are like engineers because, let's say people who have the engineering certification. But some of the senior technicians also do the inspection based on because they have done it, previously, and we trying to also to teach the young one, the junior technician, what to look when they go on site in terms of lap, like bar size and cover, and to check if the rebar are rusted or if there's a dry concrete on it, so that the bonding will be perfect. So yeah, we do those we do this on in-house.
So what challenges do you have from those in-house programs maybe, or even from the certification programs, but what challenges do you see and how do you overcome them in maintaining the quality and the reputation of the work that your company is doing?
So the challenges we're facing right now, it's one of the challenges, having senior guys, because the way I see the industry these days, many of the guys they are just looking at this particular technician just a temporary thing. Let's say, especially the people who graduate from university, they don't want to do this for the rest of their life, right? They just want to come do 2 days and they don't. If you're doing something just for temporary, you don't get too serious to go deep and learn. They just take it as a because we have a in my company we have a lot of turnaround of technician. Like every season we have to hire, and also is the nature of
Every firm in the nature of what you
almost
do has the same challenge, I believe.
because I don't know if it's the nature of the work in terms of the weather. In Canada, for instance, when it's winter time, the construction almost stop. So if you don't have many work, you have either lay off people. So when you lay off people, some of them come back, some of them they don't come back. And all the senior guy, they've been probably working some company for so many years, and it's hard to leave. They just probably want to retire or, you know, something. And that's one of the challenges. And the other challenge is some of them are not really well trained. Even though we try to do our best to do in-house, give them some documents since there's no like a proper, training in some of these. Only the concrete has a proper training, but some of them is we just give you books. But they don't learn as much as you want them to learn or to know, the test. Since many of them take it as a temporary thing. After I do this for 1 year, I don't want to test concrete for the rest of my life. So that's a big challenge for me, for our company right now.
And I think that that challenge is probably not uncommon, especially
Okay.
with the technicians. I mean, I know I've talked to other engineers that have been in similar roles, um, and expressed. So I had a project once where we work with a geotechnical engineer on the front end, on the design end, and we have a great positive experience. And the client then hires that geotechnical engineer and the inspection firm to do the same, to do their construction inspections. Well, for the inspection side, it's the technician come to the field to test the concrete, do the compaction testing and those things. And they had nothing but trouble with them. And they were on me about, why are you recommending this company? Because they're terrible to deal with. They don't show up on time. They don't have the right equipment. They don't know, the technicians are obviously new. They don't know what they're doing. Like, I can do their job better than they can, and I'm not even supposed to do their job. And some of the things that you just echoed in your challenges are exactly what they've said and what I've heard from other construction professionals. Um, and I think it's partly the nature of the work,
Yeah.
like you said, laying somebody off for a couple months. They're going to go get another job. They're going to go do something else, or say that they don't want to be in the field every day. So I think that's just overcoming that challenge, probably across more than just your company, but the industry itself. As
Yes.
far as the industry and the work that you're doing, where do you see, I know you said that you're still using paper and then typing things in. There's definitely been a movement to technology and PDAs or iPads and other technology actually in the field, but where do you see the industry going? Not necessarily with just your company, but like in the work that you do in general.
Well, actually, with the technology, I think even my company start embracing those new changes. This year, we are supposed to introduce a new system that technician will have tablet so that when they go on site, they can do the report, and then to reduce the paperwork. So it's been helping, and with the technology, cell phone, now everyone has a smartphone, so they can, like give an example, when I go to site, it's easy for me to go on Google, like if I'm not sure, like to type like ASTM spec, or in Ontario they call OPS specs, to read and understand. So because of that, it's really helping me doing the job, and I'm pretty sure it's helping many people, do the job properly and correctly.
I think it's great. And it's hard to say where the industry is going to go as far as what technology and what's coming in the horizon. We can only speculate, really. Um,
Yes,
I want to be conscientious of your time and not take too much of it, but I do want to transition to what we call the power of experience segment. So
sure.
we want to just talk about something, some piece of advice, something that maybe that you picked up throughout your career that you think could help our listeners. Maybe something you heard, maybe a tip, a trick, something like that. You're free to share whatever. It can be about what we talked about. It can be a completely different, but just something that you'd like to share with our audience.
Yeah, actually, I just want to share something about my own experience. It was back in September 29, 2021. I was on site actually, doing some subgrade inspection. So I had an injury that really changed. uh, we were on site, you know, we've identified all the problems with the site in terms of drainage and all that. And there was a catch basin open because they wanted to see if there's if the catch basin is not, there's not plugged. So catch basin was open, and after we finished, everybody was parking, and then I was walking through, and I saw one guy struggling with trying to cover the catch basin. So I came, I helped him to cover it, but unfortunately, we were not using the proper tools. Normally they use pick-ass, right, to lift it and then put it back. So I tried to help him to position the cover. And then all of a sudden, when we lifted the cover, we tried to place it with our hand. My hand got stuck. And then the catch basin cut my finger completely. So based on that experience, I would say, for new, if this is not your work, don't go. And if you don't have the proper, if you don't have the proper tool and equipment, don't get approached, because this is really cut my finger. It took me like I still have the you can see, but the finger completely, not the whole finger there from the nail up, everything, the cover cut it. So based on that, if you are not trained and if it's not your job, don't do, always try to work with with safety. Safety number one, look for yourself, because there's so many things happening on the on site. So that's one of the piece of advice I will ask, because since that happened to me, and I should know better not to, you cannot close a catch basin with your hand, right? Either you use a pick ass, but since I see someone was struggling, because the cover was about to fall in the hole, I tried to help him, but it really hurt my
It
my finger,
backfired on you.
backfire on me. That's always work with safety. Safety is very important. At the end of the day, we have to go home to our family, so we don't want to get injured or something happen.
So I Great advice, great something that I mean, I'm sure that many of us that go into the field or anything probably don't always think you wanna help somebody out, and then you end up hurting yourself,
Yes.
which is a terrible situation to end up in. So, with that, unless you have any other closing remarks, any thoughts, uh, thank you for your time, and, I wish you the best.
All right. So, closing remark, I just thank you for the opportunity to, express myself, and I'm open to, to help as much I can. As I said, it's, one thing I will advise, young engineers or technician. Believe me, when I started doing technician job, I thought it was uh, demeaning, but what I learned, what I've been actually still learning, is a lot because I have a degree, but what they teach you in school is just theory. But if you go on site, many things actually I learned in school only when I went to the field I saw really what it is, because I remember foundation class, they talk about pile, or so when you happen to work with them, it's really, it's interesting. So I will, encourage everyone to start, at the bottom, and then, grow yourself. You will learn a lot along the way. So that's what I have advice for young engineers, or even people who want to get into the field, to, don't see testing or as it, you learn a lot if you are willing to, because they always say there's a good technician and bad technician. So good technician always learn, and even if you go into design, you will have a better picture how to design thing, because you already experience it on the field instead of just sitting in the office. So it's very important to start somewhere. It helped me a lot. It's helped me grow and learn, and I'm growing. I will encourage everyone to start, from the bottom. Don't jump the steps. So it's very important.
All right. Well, we'll leave it with that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Please remember that you can find the show notes for this episode and all episodes at engineeringqualitycontrol.com. There you'll find a summary of the key points that we discussed, as well as any links that we may have referenced. Until next time, friends, I wish you the best in all of your engineering endeavors.